Hi everyone, welcome to Life Tips by Ning. In today's video, I'm sharing what to do next after we land on a particular hexagram using either the straw method or the coin method. So the first step is to know what this particular hexagram means, right? And without the meaning, we couldn't interpret an answer for the question we asked. Here is a quick reference guide. So as long as we know the 8 basic trigrams, we should be able to quickly figure out the hexagram we land on, because at the end of the day, all of those 64 hexagrams are made up of different combinations of the 8 basic trigrams. And here the chart you can see is number based, because I think it's too complicated if we try to use like a translated English name for each hexagram. But in my sequenced videos, when I'm trying to explain one hexagram at a time, I will make sure to use the same number system so you guys can easily figure out which hexagram you land on. So that is the first step. And the second step is actually a little more complicated, but as long as we know the rhythm for the rule, it's actually fairly easy to follow. The reason is there's 7 total different possibilities of how many number 6 or number 9 are inner lines, right? Because 6 represents extreme yin and 9 represents extreme yang. So depending on how many of those are showing up in your hexagram, it means it's going to change to the opposite type and forming a new hexagram signifying the future state. So the one you land on is the current state, and the one after changing number 6 or 9 to the opposite type will form a new hexagram representing the future state. And because of the different scenarios, there are different references we can make as our primary clue to the answer. So some basic languages, one hexagram is consisted of 6 different lines ranging from bottom to top, right? So in I-Ching, there's a description, like a scripture or text for the entire hexagram as the beginning of each one. And then it will dive deeper into a description for every individual line. So sometimes, even though the conclusion for a particular hexagram is super fortunate, is super favorable, but you can encounter a case that in this whole hexagram is a favorable case, but there might be some unfavorable line descriptions, even though the overall hexagram is a good indication. So that's why it's really important to call out, should I rely more on this description for the entire hexagram, or should I focus more on the description for this particular line? Like, this explains which situation goes with what type. So the first one is there's a 0 extreme yin or yang, so number 6 or 9. This is actually the case when I demonstrate the traditional straw method. We landed on either number 7 or 8. There's no 6 or 9. So that's a very straightforward situation. Your primary focus is actually the description for the entire hexagram you land on. That's it. Meaning this question you're asking is fairly stagnant. The chance for change is really low. So you just zoom in the description for the entire hexagram. That's a very easy situation. The second type is, out of the 6 lines, there's one line that has either extreme yin or extreme yang, so corresponding number 6 or 9. In that case, we're still focusing on the current hexagram, but you're switching your focus from the description for the entire hexagram to actually the description of that particular changing line. So that current hexagram's line description will be our primary guidance to give us answers. The third possibility is, out of the 6 lines, there are 2 that are either number 6 or 9, right? So in that case, the primary is actually you're focusing on those line descriptions, but we place more importance on the line positionally above. But generally speaking, it's kind of a evaluating both with a little more emphasis placed on the positionally higher line description. But with that said, we still need to kind of consider the description for the entire hexagram. It just plays a more supporting role. It's supplemental information. And the next possibility is out of the 6 lines, 3 of them are changing. So it's kind of a 50-50 chance, right? Your situation's kind of in between current versus morphing into the future. In that case, we play the same kind of weight for both the current hexagram's description and the changed future hexagram description. There's no focus on the line, which is a very kind of secondary role. It's both entire hexagrams from current to the future. You kind of blend them into like a holistic assessment. So after 3 changes, you're more leaning towards this. It becomes fairly rare to encounter those situations. Most of the time, you either run into no change or 1 change or 2 change. Those are very common to run into. But after 3, like 4 out of the 6 lines are changing. So what does that tell us? We should actually focus more on the future, the new hexagram, right? Because changing is more dominant than the non-changing. So that is a very easy clue. That's why after 3 line changes, starting with 4, 5, 6, we're shifting our focus all to the changed version, the new hexagram. So for 4 changes, you want to use the 2 unchanged line in this newly formed hexagram and place more emphasis on the positionally bottom placed one. So it's kind of similar logic, but it's the exact opposite of this two line change scenario. So you're trying to focus on the rare amongst the common. So in this case, it's actually more common to change. So I want to focus my energy on the rare ones that didn't change. And positionally, the one on the bottom plays a little bit more important role than the one on the top. But we need to consider both unchanged line in this new hexagram and see what they're saying. And for 5 out of 6 line, if 5 of them are changing, this one is easy to follow, right? Saying we need to focus on the new hexagram, but out of the 6 lines in the new hexagram, there's only one that's unchanged from the before state. So this is a rare guy we need to focus on. And that's the line description that will give us the primary clue to answer our question. And last but not least, is very rare if all 6 lines are all changing. It's either number 6 or 9. Then you focus on the hexagram's description for the new one, not the old one. The old one will just play more like a supporting role. It's supplemental information. But again, this one is similar to the no change, right? Just an extreme state of all changing. So in both cases, we don't look at the line description as much. It's mostly the description for that entire hexagram. So this is kind of a little complicated, but once we figure out the logic behind it, it's fairly easy to follow. And but sometimes you run into the situation that, wait, the primary one is telling me it's actually a very good indication, but I look at the supplemental information and it's like total opposite answer. Then what does this mean, right? So I will show you guys a quick example showing how to really interpret the hexagram or the line descriptions for I-Ching prediction. Here's a quick example of how to interpret the hexagram we landed on. The question I had was, there's a quite expensive coaching program, and if I proceed with paying for it, will my son benefit from it, or is it going to be a waste of money? What caused me hesitation is the person's reputation is really good, but the cost is quite unreasonable. And if it's worth it, I'm fine with it. But if it's not, I'd rather invest the same amount of money into like education fund or something else. So that's what triggered me the hesitation to seek guidance. So the first step is, those are the number sequence I landed on based on the straw method. And then you translate this even number into a yin line and the odd number into a yang line, right? And based on that quick reference guide, you guys can quickly find out what particular hexagram this means, the current one, because the top trigram is wind and the bottom trigram is a mountain. Wind over mountain is hexagram number 53, and the name is called gradual progress. Even though you might not know the meaning of it, like in subsequent videos, I'll dedicate each episode to focus on one particular hexagram, like really going in depth about the meaning and how it came about. But for now, just simply looking at the name, we know that this hexagram, its overarching meaning is hard work pays off. If you put in the work consistently over time, you will be able to accomplish great results. So that's what this one means. And now the second step is I need to evaluate out of the 6 lines, how many of them are the extreme yin or extreme yang, which will result in the new hexagram, right? So in this case, I ran into 2. So line number 3 is a 9 and the top line is a 9. So by changing just the 2 of them, we end up with this new hexagram. And the top one is a water trigram and the bottom is earth. And you can go back to that reference guide. Water over earth is hexagram number 8. The name is called holding together. It's like water flowing very close to earth. I'm getting a special bond with somebody, meaning that people in positional power are very close and in a humble kind of style to people they serve, so that the people underneath them really have a strong respect and liking to the people on top. So that's holding together what this hexagram means. So now I have some basic information, and the question is, should I look at the description for this one, the description for this entire thing, or I need to focus on which line to really help me answer my question, right? So based on our step 2 information, we know when there are 2 changing lines, I need to consider them both, but place more emphasis on the top one. And for this particular gradual progress hexagram, line 3 is actually, the description for line 3 is not super favorable, even though the overall hexagram is a good one. For line 3, the line description says it's kind of, you're in this excessive and aggressive zone, meaning that you're deviating from the balanced harmony approach, that you're taking too much, and too much force, too much push might actually hurt you. You need to take it easy and let things happen in an organic way. So because you're pushing too hard and using excessive force, the end result might be undesirable. So it's not a super promising guy, right? But then the top one, this line is actually really awesome. It kind of respects the whole meaning of the entire hexagram. So this top line's description is, hard work will eventually pay off as long as you consistently, steadily put in effort. You will be able to accomplish your goals, and maybe even above and beyond some sort of accomplishment you never dream about. So it's a very promising one. So you have a bad one and a good one. What does that even mean, right? So I think this is a good case of sharing how to holistically assess all these informational pieces and put them into a conclusive answer for the question. So how I interpret the whole thing is I put number one, focus on this line's description. Second, focus on this line's description. Third, focus on this whole hexagram's description. And supplementally on the fourth bottom level, I put some reliance on this new hexagram's entire hexagram's description. Those are my four-tiered thinking. And blending them all together, the result is I will proceed signing him up for the coaching program, knowing that it's not gonna like improve his swimming time in such a short time frame. Like, manage my expectations. Don't expect it like even more money just means quick result. Those two don't talk to each other. You have to do this on a gradual and consistent way, but eventually over time, this investment will pay off. Maybe during the process, because of this guy's influence, the kid or the coach, who knows, right, might have some sort of a get a long period to work out the kinks, but as an end result, it'll be promising, it'll be positive, and overall in the future, they will form this special bond and special relationship between the coach and my son to really have this positive mentor in his life. So that's kind of how you interpret the whole thing and help give me some clear guidance to make a decision I had hesitation about. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.